The gentleman from Virginia Beach, Mr. Davis.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to rise today to share the first story as part of this year's Black History Month. While some may spend this month remembering the policies, actions, and events that embody the darkest period in our nation's history, I, like many others here, believe it provides a time to celebrate the accomplishments of those that, facing significant adversity and against all odds, went on to change the face of our nation. Men and women that truly embody the spirit of what it means to be an American. Mr. Speaker, one of these men was Hiram Revels. Hiram Revels was born on September 27, 1827, as a free man in North Carolina, but this was during a time when free really didn't mean free. In an era when educating black children was illegal in North Carolina, Revels attended a school taught by a free black woman. In 1845, Hiram Revels was ordained as a minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, where he served as a preacher and a religious teacher throughout the Midwest, at times meeting with a great deal of opposition and even being imprisoned in Missouri in 1854 for preaching the gospel to other blacks. As a chaplain in the United States Army, Revels helped recruit and organize 2 black Union regiments during the Civil War in Maryland and Missouri, and he took part of the battle at Vicksburg in Mississippi. In 1865, Revels left the AME Church and joined the Methodist Episcopal Church, where he continued his ministerial work and founded schools for black children. In 1869, he was elected to represent Adams County in the Mississippi State Senate. And in January of 1870, Revels was asked to present the opening prayer of the state legislature. The Congressman John Lynch later wrote of the event, "That prayer was one of the most impressive and eloquent prayers that had ever been delivered in a Mississippi Senate chamber. It impressed those that heard it that Revels was not only a man of great natural ability, but he was also a man of superior attainments." In 1870, Revels was elected by the Mississippi State Senate to finish the term of one of the state's 2 seats in the United States Senate, which had been left vacant since the Civil War, just 9 years after Jefferson Davis had held one of those seats as a Mississippi senator. However, when Revels arrived in Washington, D.C., he faced significant opposition to being seated in the Senate. There were 2 days of intense debate, with packed Senate galleries witnessing this historic event. The opposition was based on the 1857 Dred Scott decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled that people of African ancestry were not and could not be citizens. Hence, they argued that no black man was a citizen before the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868, and thus Revels could not satisfy the requirement of the Senate of 9 years prior citizenship. Revels supporters argued the Civil War and the Reconstruction Amendments had overturned Dred Scott, and therefore it'd be unconstitutional to bar Revels on the basis of pre-Civil War Constitution citizenship rules. So on February 25th, 1870, Revels, on his strict party line vote, became the first African American to be seated in the United States Senate and the first African American to serve in the United States Congress. During Senator Revels' swearing-in ceremony on February 25, 1870, Charles Sumner, a Massachusetts senator, marked the occasion with these words, "All men are created equal," says the Great Declaration, and now a great act attests this verity. Today, we make the Declaration a reality. The Declaration was only half established by independence. The greatest duty remained behind. In assuring the equal rights of all, we complete the work. Revels advocated for compromise and moderation. He vigorously supported racial equality, argued for the reinstatement of the black legislators of the Georgia General Assembly, favored universal amnesty for former Confederates, requiring only their sworn loyalty to the Union, and successfully championed the cause of black workers who had been barred by their color from working in the Washington Navy Yard. Revels resigned 2 months before his term expired to accept appointment as the first president of Alcorn Agricultural and Mechanical College, now Alcorn State University, where he also taught philosophy. And he went on to serve there until his retirement in 1882, with a brief absence to serve as Mississippi's Secretary of State ad interim. Hiram Revels died in 1901 while attending a church conference in Aberdeen, Mississippi, and in 2002, Molfi Asante listed him as one of the 100 greatest African Americans. Mr. Speaker, some may review Hiram Revels solely as a role model for African Americans because of his shared skin color. However, his inspiration far exceeds his race. He is a role model for legislators at all levels of government. He is a role model for those of us in the Republican Party that he helped shape. And most importantly, he is a role model for all Americans who are facing significant adversity and looking for inspiration. For those reasons, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate this body allowing me to share the life of Hiram Revels with you today.